it's visible now.
Neha Santamani is a proud alumna of the Department of Foods and Nutrition, and she completed her master's in the year 2009. Currently, she is working as Assistant Manager Nutrition with Save the Children India. Without taking much time, I request Neha to continue with her presentation. We welcome you, Neha.
Thank you so much for being here. At the onset, I would like to congratulate all our organizers because the way we advocate for a balanced diet, I think similar diversity has been followed in the sessions planned today as well, because each session was completely different from the other. So I hope my session also manages to engage you successfully. With that, I would like to share my screen now. Yeah, is it visible?
You have to just go full screen.
Yeah, sure. Okay, great.
Neha, there is some issue with the audio.
Approach by Save the Children to strengthen high-level decision making. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me properly now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I'm short of proper bandwidth, so I'm stopping my video.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I go on now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So what I was saying was that advocacy and communication, they form the bedrock of driving and empowering nutrition outcomes. Advocacy targeted high-level decision makers can lead to government commitments that have the potential to improve nutrition programming and accountability. So whether we look at years of struggle of people ahead of us who advocated for a nutrition mission, or having a maternity leave policy, so all of this is an outcome of advocating for years together. So my topic has advocacy. Even if you look at the sessions, it involves advocacy in some way or the other. Before I go on to my topic, I would just quickly introduce my organization. Is the slide visible?
Yes, but your audio is very poor.
Audio is poor? Okay. Just let me know if this is better. I'm going to remove the hands-free now. Is the sound better with this?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. So quickly about Save the Children, we are a 100 years old organization and counting. Save the Children in India has existed since the pre-independence days, but SC India was registered as a separate entity in 2008 as Bal Raksha Bharat. Following are the themes that we broadly work on, and I am part of the Health and Nutrition thematic team. So coming to my presentation, to give you a brief context of the presentation. So Save the Children and Niti Aayog have signed a statement of intent together, wherein we'll be supporting the nutrition interventions of the government in 5 different states. And today I'm going to talk about a specific work done in Jharkhand, West Singhbhum district, as a part of our association with them. And first, I will introduce you to the intervention, the cost of the diet software, and then we'll talk about the application. So what is the cost of the diet exactly? It is an innovative method and software which estimates at the lowest cost the quantity and combination of local foods that are needed to provide a typical family with foods that meets their average needs for energy and their recommended intakes of protein, fat, and micronutrients. So basically, it uses a linear programming tool which minimizes the cost of the diet based on the price of all food items available under the constraint of meeting the nutrient requirements of household members. You may have also heard about other tools such as OptiFood or NutriSurvey, which also use linear programming. And there are some other tools like ProPan, Nutmeg, Nutrell. So cost of diet is also a similar tool for programming. So the idea behind cost of diet, it was born from an evaluation of a nutrition education program, which was undertaken in Ethiopia, that showed that barriers to households consuming a nutritious diet wasn't necessarily due to a lack of knowledge, but because households couldn't afford the foods that were being advocated for. So to curb that problem, Save the Children UK, they came up and they developed this software which is known as Cost of the Diet, which tells us is it possible to meet energy and nutrient specifications using local foods? If not, why not? Or what nutrient specifications are most hard to meet? What is the cost of the foods that have been identified? Is the diet affordable? And if not, what might be done? So what can the software do? It can take into account seasonal variation in prices when calculating the costs of each of the food items. It identifies the least expensive sources of energy and all nutrients. It also identifies nutrients for it which it may be hard to meet the specifications. It can help us identify the food groups that contribute the most to the cost of the diet. It estimates the affordability of the diets if we have the data on income and expenditure. It can estimate the impact on the diet or its cost of interventions that might help households meet their needs for energy and nutrients using the what-if models that the software has. So it not do. What are those? It does not analyze the cost of what people actually eat. So it is not the diet that the population is currently consuming, but it provides a suggestive, a hypothetical diet indicating inexpensive sources of essential nutrients. It does not create the current diet. So the name cost of diet is a misnomer. It is not the diet that people are eating, but the lowest cost combination of foods, of local foods that meet nutrient requirements within given food frequency constraints, which have been entered in the software using the local context. So what all information is exactly required to run the analysis? So as you can see here, all the data that is highlighted in blue, such as intake of nutrients, average energy needs, minimum recommended intake of protein and micronutrients. So all these cells highlighted in blue, these are data that are already embedded in the software and these cannot be changed. The green table, like the green cells, such as food tables and portion sizes, these are already entered in the software, but we can change it using the local information relevant to the specific context that we are working in. Coming to the yellow cells, these are basically all the data that you need to collect. It can be primary or secondary. So basically, you will need primary data on all the foods concerned, the price per 100 grams for all the foods in the list at a given point, how often foods from a food list are consumed, so that you have an insight into the dietary habits of the population you're dealing with. You will know what are the staple foods, what are the taboo foods. So you need information to enter into the software related to that. You will need the average household size and composition. It can be a secondary data, but in our case, we actually did a primary data collection wherein The income and expenditure data was collected, and also the average household size and composition was understood. Apart from that, you would also need annual or monthly household income expenditure for the food and non-food items. Understanding of the methodology, I would just briefly take you through the work that we did in Wessingham. So this involved, the methodology involved 8 market surveys each in each of the 2 blocks, Chaibasa and Tonto. We undertook 48, which is a total of 96 individual interviews to understand the dietary habits, and also focus group discussions in 12 villages. Coming to the data on income and expenditure, the household through a household economic survey, like I mentioned, conducted by us. But the non-food expenditure, it is the National Sample Survey Office survey, which was done in 2000. On the right, you can see what are the components that are included in the food expenditure. Coming quickly to our data suggested that a total of 196 districts. And you may notice here that, you have about products here. Jharkhand is, home to a lot of foods. So we rounded it up to 6 and captured information on the following individuals, so that, we could take into consideration different age groups and physiological status. So coming to the standard analysis that the software offers, these 4 standard diets are available in the software. As you can see in the table, the energy only diet will take into account only the energy requirements. It will make sure that it comes up with the cheapest sources of foods which can meet the energy requirements of the household. Similarly, macronutrient diet will ensure that additional to energy, your protein and fat requirements are also met. The nutritious diet will take into consideration micronutrient requirements along with the macronutrients. And coming to food habits nutritious diet. So this not only takes into consideration the macro and micronutrient requirements, but it also accounts for the local food habits, the dietary habits of the population you're dealing with, so that you don't end up recommending eating chapatis in a rice eating staple population. So in the interest of time, I'm not going into the details of the other diets, but I will just give you a glimpse of what sort of information is available. So I am going to share details only related to the food habits nutritious diet, because this is of the most relevance as it takes into account the dietary habits. So based on our analysis, we got to know that for a standard 6-person household that meets their nutrient requirements, by accounting for their food habits, the cost of diet would range from 162 to 212 rupees per day, which is roughly on an average 193 rupees per day. If anyone of you have looked at the Thalinomics study done recently, you would know that even it is similar to the cost of the thali that they have suggested. So not only does it give you the cost, but it will also give you a glimpse into whether all the macro and micronutrients were effectively met by the food items that were suggested by the software. And by looking at the table, you would also find out if there are any hard to reach, hard to meet nutrients from the diet suggested, and then possibly you could look into how to meeting them. So not only did we look at a 6-member household composition, you might wonder that, oh, that's not the standard size for all. What about, families with 5 members or 8 members, or even within the families, within the same number of family members, they might be at a different physiological stage and age. So to make sure we make up for that, we also analyzed for household members ranging from 5 to 8, and also households having low energy requirements, wherein the age group is low and physical activity levels, the lifestyle is sedentary, and as well as for the high energy households. with vigorous activity and higher age and physiological state. Now coming to our advocacy points. So if you look at the annual cost of these diets, the annual cost of energy only diet is half the amount of the annual cost of food habits nutritious diet. So when we say that, the midday meal meat is 30% of your daily requirements, or, the THR meets this, so then we need to make sure that we understand that you might be meeting only the energy requirements of the population and not exactly the macro and micronutrients, also not even in line with the food habits. So the cost of food habits nutritious diet is twice as much as that of an energy only diet. And even if you look at the cost of the diet, you would realize that breastfeeding mothers, they were the most expensive group, followed by adult men and young adolescent girls. Nearly 25% of the cost of the diet would go in meeting the energy requirements of the breastfeeding mother. So apart from the standard analysis, we also modeled the potential effect of the existing, nutrition sensitive schemes, and also certain nutrition sensitive, social protection schemes. So we studied the potential effect of take home ration, public distribution system, IFA. We also proposed a hypothetical scenario that what if, in a state like Jharkhand, where government is already, open to supplementation of eggs, 5 eggs per week for children, what happens then? And also a combination of all of these interventions together. So when we did that, when we modeled the potential effect of these schemes, we found out that, the cost of the standard food habits diet, which was 193.50, we could reduce it to as low as 136.79 rupees roughly, if all these nutrition specific, interventions are accounted for. So that is reducing the cost of diet by 30%. Understanding the affordability. So to find out whether the diet is affordable or not, we needed data on the annual income and as well as the food expenditure. So it is obvious to note here that, the lowest quartile, the non-food expenditure is just 43%, which is much higher in the richer quartile 4, which is 66.3. And the trend is opposite for your food expenditure, which is obvious that the poorer you are, the majority of your income would go in meeting your food expenses. So we analyzed the affordability of the standard food habits diet with nutrition specific schemes. And as you can see here, for quartile 1, 50%, 51% of their income goes in meeting just their energy requirements. So forget about, meeting their macronutrient and micronutrient requirements, and meeting your non-food expenditure is out of question. Even for the quartile 4, the wealthier group in the West Singhbhum region, they are barely, meeting their non-food expenditure requirements. Similarly, we also analyze the potential effect of, social protection schemes. So you can see here, if you account for, you add additional income through NREGA or the pension scheme, the child grants or livelihoods, along with the nutrition specific schemes, even then, you might want to, wonder that are we doing enough? Do we need to evaluate and, correct or maybe add any additional interventions that could possibly help the population to meet their food requirements? So to sum it up, the key findings from our survey, we found out that the availability of nutrient-rich foods was not the main barrier to typical poor households obtaining a nutritious diet. And calcium was found to be a limiting nutrient. So we found out in our dietary habits surveys also that the population there is not very, they're not into consumption of milk and milk products. So calcium was found to be a limiting nutrient, most difficult to obtain, and a significant cost driver as well, which was followed by vitamin B12. Consumption of iron folic acids in the recommended quantity by pregnant and breastfeeding women might fulfill the folic acid requirement and potentially reduce the cost of the diet. a diet that meets a typical household's nutrient requirements while taking into consideration the local dietary practices was twice as much, 2 times more expensive than a diet that meets the household's energy requirements only. While standalone nutrition interventions such as PDS, THR, IFA supplementation, or social protection schemes such as Manrega, pension, livelihood schemes, etc., can significantly improve household income and purchasing power, the improvement can still be inadequate to afford a nutritious diet. Some of the key nutrition-sensitive social protection schemes which have the potential to improve household income need to revisit its benefit size. Increase in 20% of current daily wages in the NREGA scheme has the potential to improve the affordability of the lowest quintile. Similarly, there is a need to double the benefits of social pensions to improve affordability. So what are the next steps? So cost of diet software can be used in a number of ways. We are using it, to develop a customized counseling and communication package based on the foods that have been found or based on the affordability analysis that we have. We aim to have targeted counseling and demonstration. We are also we're looking at advocacy for policy level changes. Additionally, you could also, because the software gives you a list of the cheapest nutritious foods that are available in your study population, you can possibly, involve the community in a participatory way. We are looking at, developing a recipe booklet, which is, using all the indigenous foods, the wild foods that are available in the population. Any questions? I hope I haven't much of time.
Yeah. Thank you, Neha, for the wonderful presentation. And indeed, the software saves a lot of time and gives a lot of options. Also, the seasonal variations.